Hi, Abraham. Oh, gosh. I came here today with an intention to feel some relief. You really described what my desire is. I am separated from my husband, and we have been trying to come together and decide whether or not just to continue to work on the marriage or to end it. And we have 3 children, small children, and we've been married for 12 years. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I have 12 years of sobriety, and he has 15. And I met him when I was newly sober, 3 months. And through the marriage, I've questioned, if it was really the right partner for me, because I feel like I went there with this need for someone to help me do something I couldn't do for myself.
Every partnership is about that.
Yes.
And what a wonderful thing.
Mm.
In other words, you never said, I'll go forth into this physical environment and I will do every aspect of creating on my own.
Mm.
You said, I'll offer a vibration and the universe will deliver to me others with whom I can dance.
Right.
And in the dance together, it's more meaningful.
And in that way, it was very successful, because I had tried to get sober for a long time, and somehow with him I was able to stay sober and create an incredible life. But we have had problems with intimacy from the very beginning. Both of us have brought, and you've talked about how, does Magellan ask where we've been? We brought things from our history growing up that made it difficult for us to feel safe with one another in an intimate way. And so that part was lacking. And so consequently there was some infidelity on his part. And
instead of calling it infidelity, call it humanness.
Okay. Thank you for saying that. And I understand that when we're talking.
Call it disobeying a rule that someone made for their advantage.
Okay. And and when I found out not only had it happened, but it had happened for a long period of time. There was a break.
What, that humanness?
That humanness, yes. Okay, thank you. Keep me going in the right path. And I feel that about him, I don't look at him as a bad man. I look at him as a good man.
So does Source.
But what has happened is now I find myself having this desire, like the ultimate desire for me would be for us to be able to come together and love one another and get through this and grow and expand and be able to have, wonderful things and create a wonderful environment for our 3 children. But where I'm stuck is I keep having this doubt come up of it being able to happen.
Well, here's what we're hearing from you, and we hear it often. In fact, it's perhaps the most common thing we hear from people who are wanting perfect relationships. Since your relationship is something that the 2 of you have co-created, in other words, it is not only you and it is not only him. Your relationship is something that lives and breathes in and of itself. It's something that the 2 of you have flowed energy toward. It's almost like a third entity, you might say. Most people, and you said it very well, and we are happy that you realize it as deeply as you do, most people look at their creative partner as someone who needs to be a certain way in order to make you feel a certain way. And that's natural because you do have knee-jerk responses to everything that you see. And so when someone behaves in a way that gives you steady feeling of relief, then you kind of think they ought to keep doing it. Mm-hmm. But what happens in that process is that you have turned over to them all of your power. You're saying to them, since I only have the ability to observe and have feeling responses to what I'm observing, then you need to perform and behave in very precise ways so that you can keep me feeling good. And not only does it never work, but it makes them feel trapped. Right. And then you feel bitter because they're not willing to sacrifice in whatever way they need to keep you happy. And the whole thing is ill-fated because you have your own guidance system within you. We would like to say to you, to all of you, but we really want you to feel this, that we know that under all conditions, you could focus in a way that you would feel good. And if you could do that, not only would you have the big bonus of feeling good, but you'd let everybody in your life off the hook, and then they'd want to be with you. But when you say, you are responsible for the way I feel, everyone finds out pretty early on. They just can't be responsible for the way you feel because there are too many other factors that are affecting the way you feel. The greatest gift that you could give to anyone, your children, your mate, a stranger, to anyone, is to say, I'm self-sufficient and I'm in charge of the way I feel. And you all just go and do your thing and be however you need to be. And I will selectively sift from among you even the specific components of each of you. And I will practice those components that resonate with my source until I have practiced a vibrational frequency that becomes my proclivity, it becomes my mood, it becomes my attitude, it becomes my point of attraction. And I will elicit from you the things that make me feel wonderful when I elicit. We would love it if every one of you could say to every one of your mates, do anything that you need to do or want to do. It really isn't any of my business what you do. It's my business to find things in you that please me. And it is our promise to you that under those vibrational circumstances, this man, any being would give anything to be by your side. What a nutritious, life-giving environment in which to thrive, you see. No one wants to be held responsible for how someone else feels. And we know it's tricky because you do have feeling responses. We know that when someone's lovable, they're easier to love. And when someone's not lovable, it just is so irritating because you want to love them. And if they would be lovable, you would. But since they're not being lovable, now you have to work so hard at loving them. Why don't I just get rid of you and go find one more lovable? Yeah. And we say, the tricky thing about that is just as you said, you took all that stuff before your marriage with you into your marriage, you will take all that stuff from this marriage into the next one. That's why people recreate the same relationships over and over and over and over again. Changing places, changing faces, same general theme. So there is so much happening here that you adore. We feel it from you. We heard it from you. There is so much that is wonderful that is here. And if we were standing in your physical shoes, our attitude to this magnificent partner and father of our children would be, there are 100 wonderful things to every one. And I'm no longer going to say, yeah, but the one adds up to everything else I'll put together. I'm going to make all of these components equal, and I'm going to say, I'm going to find a way to feel good. And I'm going to find a way to feel good right here. And I'm going to take responsibility for the way I feel. Sometimes it helps, and you've been there. So you got really hurt. And you felt really disempowered. And it was a deep, deep depression that you felt. And you could hardly breathe. And if he hadn't behaved in the way he did, then none of that would have been true. And so we understand how you would come to severe anger. And we applaud you in your anger because you could breathe in the anger and you could not breathe in the depression. And that blame that you found felt, oh, so much better than any guilt. And so we applaud you in your beating the drum of that blame and anger. But now you have sort of moved through the hurt and through the depression into that blame and anger. And now it's time to move out of that. And you don't want to turn around and go back to Phoenix. So what you're reaching for are some things to focus upon, some statements that you could make that could give you some relief from the blame and anger. And we want to say to you that in this case, it's so easy because there are so many positive aspects for you to focus upon. There are so many wonderful things. We can feel them from you to focus upon. And so if you want to, tell us what some of them are. In other words, what is your favorite thing about your family relationship? Now, the amount of pause between our question and her answer will be an indicator of the degree of resistance. She's moved, you might be able to feel it, considerably just in listening to us here. So you're not in the same vibrational place that you were when you first sat down. So we think that you are enough back in realignment with who you are that we could change the subject and you could go right into ecstasy easily. In other words, we could talk about other things off this subject and you could right up the emotional scale. But because you're wanting, and we want to talk about this particular subject, when you focus upon it, your vibration is naturally going to, on the computer equipment, there is a little groove. You can just feel when it's in its niche. And all of you create those little grooves by staying in an emotional place for a while. And so when we focus upon this subject of your relationship and of this man, you go to the place that you've practiced most. And what we're wanting to do is not make a new groove today, but at least pull you from it so that you can feel the relief of moving into this better place. And as you do that often, you'll make a new groove. And as you make a new groove in the way that you commonly feel, everything about this relationship will change. The way he looks at you will change. The tones in his voice will change. The frequency of your interaction will change. The intimacy is all about that, you see. We don't want you to pick something that needs to be fixed and focus there, because then we just go back to the same old groove. We want you to pull away from that groove. So tell us some wouldn't it be nice ifs or positive aspects of your family.
It feels like my husband and I are very in alignment with the desire for being connected to source. And although at this point in time,
No, all those.
okay, and at this time our sources look different.
That and was the same as an all those.
Okay. Period. Our sources. Okay,
So when you choose something that has a little challenge in it, you don't move much. Choose something that has no challenge in it. In other
Okay.
words, some of those positive aspects that are undeniable within you.
I feel very comfortable when we're just hanging out. I can let it all hang out. I don't feel like I ever have to try to be something I'm not, which
Yeah.
I think I do too much on the outside.
Nice one to be with. What else?
We laugh together.
Excellent. Right there. In other words, there's no fluctuation in that vibration. Now you found something that really feels good. Amplify it. Give us some details. Does he have a funny sense of humor?
Yes, he does have a funny sense of humor.
And does he make you laugh in ways that others could not? There are all those inside jokes that only the two of you know.
Yes.
All that history and all of that stuff. So you have a sort of humorous shorthand that you are living all together that you could not begin to explain to anybody else.
Correct.
Really satisfying and lovely, isn't it?
It is.
So talk more about how you laugh together. Over what?
Over just silly things, just very simple things that go on around our lives that would only be funny to us, just like you said.
Now, as you hear her, is there any reason in this world that she would want to leave? In other words, from this point of vibration, isn't she right there? In other words, aren't you right there where you want to be?
Yes.
And didn't you sort of do it on your own? In other words, no bouquet of flowers was delivered. There was
Right.
no signing on the dotted line to, in other words, you just found something to focus upon and gave yourself the relief, which has always been your job. You just did it just now. That's all, you see. And what we're saying is, as you practice that a little more, you'll get so good at it that you'll reach the place where you will be able to say to anyone close to you like that, I'm good. I'm good. You forgot my birthday? I'm good. I'm good. I remember I was born. I'm good. Our relationship doesn't hang in this moment of which way you looked at me or whether you remembered me. My happiness depends upon what I point my thoughts toward. What I choose, what I choose, what I choose, what I choose, what I choose. And I choose to appreciate you. And I choose to love you. And I choose to think about laughing with you. And I choose to thank you every day of the world for these magnificent children. I choose to thank you for the financial well-being and for the sense of home. And I choose to thank you for helping me with my sobriety and for walking the trail with me and figuring things out as we go together. You have so much thankfulness within you relative to this specific subject. Just beat the drum of it until it's so active and alive within you that you just ooze sappy, slobbery stuff all over. And in that vibration, your intimacy, your desire to be with him will explode. You'll drag him off into the bushes soon. That sexual energy is alignment with source. That's alignment with the energy of pure positive energy and flowing through you with such power that you want to express it in physical ways. That's what that feeling is, you see. You can't be mad at someone and enjoy sexual intimacy. It doesn't mean you can't perform it, but you cannot, it's not the same.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. I found incredible relief. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.